To friends and family, they were a match made in heaven, but behind closed doors, they were a match made in hell. This week we discuss the Barbie and Ken killers. Let's open the serial killer file. Paul Kenneth Bernardo was born in Scarborough, Ontario, Canada in 1964 to a wealthy but dysfunctional family. His family gained their income from a highly successful tile and marble business which was passed down to his father, Kenneth Bernardo. His father had a long history of abusiveness towards women. This was especially true for Paul's mother, Marilyn. After the birth of their first daughter, his mother began having an affair with a former boyfriend. This eventually led to the birth of Paul. Regardless of her affair, Kenneth took biological custody over Paul. Unhappy with her marriage, his mother fell into a spiraling depression and unexpectedly withdrew her role as a mother, leaving Paul motherless at a young age. In 1975, Paul's father was charged with molestation after fondling a young girl, including his own daughter. This would open a new door to sadistic behaviors in Paul's life. According to people who knew him, Paul grew up to live a fairly normal and happy life despite his past. In 1986, Paul graduated from the University of Toronto with a degree in accounting. It was during this time when he began dating multiple girls. His boyish good looks allowed him to manipulate any girl he wanted. Though he had his good looks going for him, every relationship failed because of his abusive behavior and aggressive sexual needs. Residents throughout Scarborough would soon fear the worst when Paul began raping young women in the late hours. In March of 1987, multiple women came forward with assault charges targeted towards a tall adult male with blonde hair. DNA samples taken from each victim led to his title as the Scarborough Rapist throughout southern Ontario. Paul's life would change forever when he eventually met a girl attending a high school in St. Catharines, Ontario. Her name was Karla Homolka. It was love at first sight when the two laid eyes on each other at a restaurant in Toronto. Within a matter of hours, they began engaging in sexual acts at Karla's hotel room. This would be the start to a life of sexual crimes together. To Paul, Karla was a gorgeous but naive 17-year-old girl who would do just about anything for him. In December 1987, Paul proposed to Karla 2 months into their relationship. It was shortly after their proposal when Karla began encouraging in his sexual assaults towards other females. Their dark secrets were well hidden from anyone who knew them. Karla's family approved of her fiancé and believed he would be a great husband and son-in-law. In 1990, he began experiencing a sick obsession with Karla's youngest sister, Tammy. Paul would frequently masturbate to Tammy undressing with the help of Karla, who would open her sister's blinds. She looked up to him like an older brother, while his intentions were anything but sincere towards her. She became the target of his deviant urges. He only wanted one thing that Karla could not give him: her virginity, making Tammy the perfect gift to Paul. Over the Christmas holidays, the Homolkas threw a Christmas party on Christmas Eve in 1990. Once every member in the house was fast asleep, the couple launched their attack on Tammy by inviting her to share a couple of drinks with them. Karla slipped sleeping pills and animal tranquilizer into her sister's drink. Once she fell unconscious, Karla placed a soaking rag of halothane to Tammy's face as Paul proceeded to rape her sister. Karla was then instructed to join and rape her sister with him while videotaping the act in the family living room. It was only a matter of moments before Karla's sister began to wake up and things took an unexpected turn. Tammy began choking on her vomit while lying on the carpet. Due to asphyxiation caused by her vomit, she was declared dead at the hospital. When questioned by police, the couple stated that Tammy was a foolish teenager who drank too much, resulting in her accidental death. When asked about the trauma burns on her face, both explained the marks were simply a result of carpet burn after they attempted to revive Karla's younger sister. The cause of death was filed under natural causes. Without a trace, Karla and Paul escaped without any consequences. It was a month after Tammy's funeral in 1991 when the couple moved into a house together in St. Catharines. Police in southern Ontario would no longer receive reports of sexual assaults around Scarborough, but eventually reports of sexual assaults began making its way around St. Catharines. The death of Tammy didn't stop the two from engaging in sadistic acts. In fact, it only encouraged them to move to new targets, specifically targeting younger girls for their virginity. Karla began worshiping Paul, calling him a king who claimed her as a slave during their assaults. In the early morning of June 15, 1991, Paul kidnapped 14-year-old Leslie Mahaffey, who was wandering out on her own after her parents locked her out of the house as a consequence for passing her curfew. He then drove his victim to a different location where he informed Karla of their new playmate. The couple began videotaping themselves brutally torturing and sexually abusing the teen. Leslie begged and pleaded for them to stop, promising to never go to police. The couple eventually strangled Leslie and hid her body in their basement before cutting her up into pieces and placing each dismembered limb into 200-pound concrete blocks, where they would be placed in Lake Gibson. Police would eventually receive a call from a concerned father and son when Leslie's scattered body parts were found on June 29th, the same day as Paul and Karla's wedding. Dental records were able to identify the remains belonging to Leslie. The thirst for more victims was never quenched for Paul and Karla. It would be their third victim that would cause major headlines in the media. On the afternoon of April 16, 1992, the couple drove nearby Holy Cross Secondary School, scavenging to find their next victim. Karla eventually got out of the vehicle with a map in her hand before luring in Kristen French, a 15-year-old student who lived very close to where she was pulled over. In her vulnerable state, Paul was able to force her into the car with a knife. Within a 24-hour period, Niagara Regional Police sent out an abduction team after the discovery of Kristen's shoe in a parking lot. Over the 3 days of Easter weekend, the couple videotaped themselves as they tortured and sodomized their victim, forcing her to drink copious amounts of alcohol. Hours before attending an Easter celebration at the Homolkas, Paul strangled Kristen as Karla watched without a care. The gruesome discovery of Kristen's naked body was discovered in a ditch on April 30th, 1992 in Burlington, Ontario, not far away from the burial site of Leslie. Police noted that the body had been cleaned up and the hair on the victim was cut away to intervene with identifying the remains. The composite sketch of Paul was released to the public. Many of his friends were in shock to discover that the sketch looked eerily similar to their very good friend. Paul and Karla were both apprehended after headlines began to scatter across Canada and the United States, and it didn't take long before the couple turned on each other. During Karla's interrogation with investigators in 1993, she testified against Paul, stating that he was abusive towards her and was responsible for the assaults of at least 30 women around southern Ontario. Her plea bargain with police led her to admit that she partook in the death of her sister, Tammy Homolka, and her husband enjoyed raping her younger sister. Karla was charged with manslaughter and was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Paul's trial for the murders of Leslie and Kristen began in 1995, where he stated that Karla was the mastermind who killed the girls. Homemade videotapes served as crucial pieces of evidence in each trial. Paul Bernardo was sentenced to life in prison with a chance of parole in 25 years. He is considered a dangerous offender who will most likely not be released and proceeds to be kept in segregation for his actions. Karla was released in 2005 and is now settled with her husband and 3 children under a new identity. Paul is still incarcerated, but has recently applied for day parole in Toronto, Canada. That's all in this file. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel now by either clicking on screen or below this video. Also, if you learned something new, please don't hesitate to click the thumbs up button below this video, and I will see you next time.